Today we're going to talk about launching your freelance writing career. And I want to talk about one of the biggest shifts that you need to make, and that is understanding that you are not launching your freelance writing career, you are launching your freelance writing business. So you are going to be thinking about everything around your freelance writing as a business. We tend to think, oh, I'm going to be a writer, but you are going to be many things if you want to be a writer as your career. So here's who I thought I could be. I was going to sit around having fun thoughts all day, and I was going to write them in a cute notebook, and people were going to want to publish them, and it was going to be super. So who I needed to be was someone who could keep the books, sell my work, manage my time, send submissions nonstop, and do my own accounting. So if you are a freelancer, you are a business owner. And that means that you're going to be wearing a lot of hats. And I think most of those hats were like, wait, where did this come from? No, I didn't sign up for this. So I want you to know what you're signing up for when you want to be a freelancer. It's hard, but I love the benefits of making my own schedule. It's wonderful. You just have to be ready for everything that comes along with it. So your business departments, you are going to have to think about everything from operations to financials to marketing. And so today I kind of want to go on an overview of all the departments that you are going to have to think about and how you can frame those and the most important questions to ask yourself about each of those. There's also going to be a handout that I'll make sure you guys all get in an email after this if you're on the mailing list. And so you don't have to worry about writing down anything that I have on the slides, but if you want to take notes, of course, that might be helpful. So first is your executive department. What is your mission and your future? I'm a big fan of something I call it is called a for-benefit organization. So I have worked for nonprofits and I've seen how there's an expectation that, oh, you sacrifice yourself completely all for other people. And I've worked in the tech industry in a total capitalist business, and the expectation is that you just get all the value you can and that you're not getting back. And so a for-benefit organization is kind of an overlap of a half for me, half for you. You are doing something for the world. As writers, we help people who don't have a voice amplify their voice. We can show people a new side of life. We can inspire people to live more deeply. And that's what we're giving the world. And what we're getting out of it is hopefully being financially safe, having good health care, being able to retire with dignity, things like that. So you want to think about, what am I going to bring into the world and what do I expect to get out of it and what am I working toward for myself? And then what's your business plan? So you're going to want to write out, how are you going to do this? What are your clients going to be? What kind of work are you going after? You can do everything from content marketing for corporations to magazine work to creative writing. And I kind of have a balance of this as well. I'm a creative writer. One example is I wrote something for McSweeney's. It took me a month. I probably had 20 hours into it. And I was really happy to get a byline in McSweeney's, but it also, I got paid $30. And that is the literary writing world, right? But then I also write for technology companies, and they're happy to pay me really well for a blog post, a tweet, things like that. So mine is a balance of being paid as much as possible for content marketing so that I can pay for the hours I spend on my creative writing. And when is your executive meeting? So we think about a business, of course, they have an executive meeting probably once a week, maybe once a month, where they talk about the highest level situations in the company. So this is a time for myself. I decided to make it all day Monday. I realized it just takes me all day. And it's about 20 items I go through. And one of them, for example, is check like all starred email. So I get to, what's called inbox zero on Mondays. Either I've gone through every email, handled it, or I have, hi Francis, or I have scheduled it, right? So if there's an email, it's gonna be a pain in the butt, take half an hour, then I'll just schedule it for the week. So after Monday, my week is scheduled out. I'm familiar with my deadlines. I make sure all the work for my deadlines is handled. So that's what I do on Mondays. So ask yourself when you're gonna put what I call the net under the cracks that everything slips through. When are you going to do that for yourself? Operations. This is how your work gets made. This is what's production, right? We don't think about that in terms of writing, but it's essentially how you do the work you do and what is your system. So where will you track deadlines, story status, and contacts? I give my coaching clients something called the Freelancer's Mission Control Center. And it's just a huge Excel spreadsheet with lots of pages about like tracking things, stories. You have to track your submissions, because if you get something, if you send it to a few different places and it gets accepted one place, you're going to need to email the other places immediately and let them know. That's a professional courtesy. And it makes it a lot easier to do that if you know exactly where it's been submitted. What's your file naming convention, right? So just simple things like this. And sometimes you'll just go years without one, and then finally you'll snap and be like, okay, I need a system. So mine is that in my files, I have 26 files, A to Z. And so for example, under C, I put clients, and there's all my clients, right? And their work for them. So I do that. And then for each file I name it with 4 digits for the year, a dot just to get a little visual space, 2 digits for the month, dot, 2 digits for the day, and then a dash and whatever it is. And that's really helped me understand when the latest draft is and keep things straight. How will you update your documentation? One of my favorite things, I'm very scatterbrained, total writer, and I will think of a new system and start doing it, and then let it fall by the wayside, and then think of another new system 3 months later and start doing that one, and then it's like crazy. So really think about just starting maybe one Word document, and I call mine How to Be Paulette, just like how to be, and just decisions you make about your business. I keep my drafts here. I keep my stock photos here. This is what I do. Like, just write it out. And we'll come back to why this is so important in a little bit. Your marketing. Marketing is creating a group of people who are interested in having you work for them. And it's really important as one of those activities that's not very urgent, and it's not going to pay off immediately, but it will keep your career healthy as you move along. So think about, where are the customers you want to sell to? You might want to go to a conference where they're at. So I love to go to AWP, which is a conference for writers, but then I also love to go to conferences where there are going to be people who might want to hire me. So I went to something called Seattle Interactive Conference, where I knew there would be a lot of tech companies, and I met a really great client there. She is in a tech marketing firm. I write their blog for them. It's really steady, nice work. It pays my rent every month. And so you want to think about, where are the people either in real life or online, such as Twitter. You know, we have so much access now to the people we want to get to. So really find out where they are, either online or in person, and then think about, how can you introduce them to you and your work? The best way to do it is to bring them some value. You might email them an interesting article, say, hey, I met you here. I thought you might be interested in this thing I read. Find out what they need and how you can get it for them, and start to bring them a little bit of value as a writer, and show them that you are a professional and someone they might want to work with. And think about little things like, do you have a business card and a website? So if you meet someone and you felt a little too shy to get a business card, right? Because you're like, well, I'm not really a freelance writer yet. But they want to hire you, and then you say like, oh, I don't have a card yet, or, oh, I don't have my website up yet. Think about how differently they're going to view you than if you say, oh yes, here's my card, feel free to look at my website, I have a portfolio on there. Just that impression that that's going to give them is that you take yourself very seriously, and they're going to take and value you as a professional more. Sales. We all want to make money from our writing. None of us want to consider ourselves salespeople for our writing. And the thing that helped me with this was, when I worked for a tech company for 3 years in Seattle, I wrote their proposals. And that, at the time, I felt like it was really taking me away from my creative writing, and I didn't want to do it. And I just wanted to write essays. And I'm so glad I had that experience now, because it really taught me about persuasive writing. And anytime you send a pitch, you're in sales. Anytime you write a book proposal, you're in sales. And so it really helped me understand how something gets sold and the psychology behind it. So think about your what's called lead measures. There's lag measures, which looks back in time, like how much money did you spend last month? How many acceptances did you get last month? And then lead measures are measures in the future that will help you ensure success, right? So you don't just want to be looking back at how you did, you want to be setting goals for the future. So Sales is often a numbers game. So think about how many pitches you're going to send per week. Maybe I'm going to send, sometimes it helps to just do one really focused pitch where you've read an entire magazine, a few different, issues of it. You're doing a really targeted pitch, or I'm going to send 5 more general pitches, things like that. And do you understand what problems your editors need solved? We often feel like the power dynamic is completely in the hands of the editors, that we're just coming to them, we're like, please publish our work, I want to be published. But they have needs, and they need to fill their magazines and their blogs and corporate reports, if we're doing that, with information that is well organized and interesting. And they all have a promise to someone else that they're trying to fulfill. And if you can come in and really show that you are the person who has the skills and the understanding to solve that problem, they will be so thankful that they found you. And that's the best feeling, when someone is like, I'm so thankful I found you. It's like, what? I thought I was just like begging for work. So if it's a magazine editor, that means read the magazine, understand the sections that they need work in. If it's a business, understand where their business is coming from. This often also involves, if you're having a conversation, asking more questions and listening more than you're just selling. And understand what differentiates you from the competition. You're really going to want to be specific. One of my favorite examples of this is someone close to me had their entire LinkedIn profile copied and pasted and stolen into someone else's profile. And I said, well, then your LinkedIn profile sucked. Because if you're using something that's so generic that someone else can just copy and paste it, that shows you that you're not really showing how you differentiate yourself from the market. So let's say before you had, I'm passionate about travel, right? Anyone could say that. Instead, you could say, I have visited 52 countries over the last 10 years and been published in 3 different travel magazines. So that shows that you are passionate. So you want to use those details and really understand what makes you different, what makes you more valuable. Finance. This is not my favorite part, except when invoices get paid. But there's little things you can start to do to be less afraid. One thing that was so much easier than I thought it would be was to get a separate business bank account. I think I was in our local credit union, BECU, for about 15 minutes. I got a debit card. That's where I put all my business expenses. Things I pay for are things like QuickBooks, and Buffer is a great social media posting app I use. I'll send you guys, actually, I did a blog post of all the tools I use to run my freelance writing business. So I'll send you those. Those are the ones I like. So not that hard. You just have a separate business bank account. What's your plan for saving at least 20% for taxes? So the worst thing you can do is put your head in the sand and not think about it. And at the end of the year, owe the government, perhaps $10,000. And so you want to be paying that little by little. I found out that you can actually pay this at any time. You don't have to wait till quarterly. I'm the kind of person where if I have $1,000 in my bank account, it whispers to me like, take me to lunch, take me to Cabo. So I need to just get that money away from me as soon as possible. So I pay weekly. I pay everything I owe for the last week, right? Anything that comes in, I just say, like, if I get a $1,000 check, I put $200 and I just get it away from me as soon as possible and off to the government. And do you have a system for documenting what your expenses are with receipts? The only reason you will need these is if you get audited. But if you get audited, you're going to want to have them. So it essentially says, this is proof, for example, that I had a business lunch with one of my editors. And one of the things that I do, I have a Dropbox account. On the Dropbox app, I just hit, I open it, I hit scan document. I take like a little picture of the receipt. I put the date. And for lunches, for example, you have to put who was there and what was discussed. And then maybe the amount in the title of the document. And then that's it. And then I can throw away that receipt, and that's fine. I'm just it's a little insurance. If the government says, did it really cost you this much to run your business? You can say, yes, here are all my receipts. IT. So there's no IT guy or gal when you are a freelancer. Another one of my challenges, I have like pop-ups all the time, like your disk is full, you're this. I'm just like, oh my God. So it's a whole situation. the most important things to think about are, is your computer backing up your files daily? I have everything in the cloud, and then I also have redundant storage on a hard drive. So think about, in stories and writing, redundancy is bad. In IT and data security, redundancy is good. You're going to want at least 2 places where your files are being backed up. There are a lot of online resources for this, just they will back up your computer automatically over an internet connection. So if this is not something you're doing right now, we've all seen the Sex and the City episode about backing up, and there's no excuse. So write on your arm in 2-inch letters right now, back up files, because if it's not happening, or it's only happening like once every few months when you think about it and panic, you are really putting yourself at risk for having a bad day. Which programs and apps should you use? This is something that takes your time to think about. Should I be paying for this app? Is there a free option? Is this the best one for me? And it can be a situation where you have a lot of paralysis by analysis. The worst thing that happens is you start using MailChimp, for example, and you're like, no, now I want to use ConvertKit. So it's really hard. The best thing to do, I think, is set a timer for an hour. Let's say you're like, okay, I want to do accounting. I want to get some accounting software. Set a timer for an hour, research it for an hour, make a decision. So there's a lot of websites now that rank, best accounting software, best social media stuff. So just know it's going to be something that's going to take a little bit of your time to understand what are the best programs for you. Is your data secure? So this is another situation where you want to make sure that your passwords are secure. One of the programs that I really like is called LastPass, and that not only generates and stores keywords for you, but it also helps you share those keywords if you end up working with someone else, and you can just send them like access, but they don't get to see your password actually, and then it's very easy to revoke it all at once if you stop working with them. And lastly, we're going to talk about HR. So you are your own HR department for yourself. You decide what your dress code is. Do you work on the weekends? Do you give yourself health care? How many days off do you give yourself? Ooh, go away. And so, it's just, you have all these decisions to make about how you work. And deciding at what point would you hire help. This is a tough decision. There is no hard and fast rule about it. Like, is it worth it to have someone do your social media? Is it worth it to have someone do your bookkeeping? So really understanding how much you're making per hour, how much you think you would save in time if someone else did it for you. It's just a decision that you personally need to make. I like to hire people on Upwork. It's a website where you can actually rank people by, or sort and filter. I filter out people who have, I'm looking at people who have billed more than 1,000 hours and have a 90% or higher success rate with their projects. So that gives me people who are experienced and have good reviews, and that's worked out pretty well for me. So now we're back to, is your system documented? Because chances are when you hire someone to help you, even just for like an hour a week, you are going to be hiring them because you are like super packed with work. So it's not at that point that you want to realize, oh wait, I have to go back and spend 3 or 4 hours documenting all these processes so that you can get started. You want to be able to say, okay, here's how this works. I have this document. You can copy whatever relevant part is part of their job out of that document you started, and that will really help. And then what skills are you least proficient in or dislike the most? For me, this is bookkeeping and any admin tasks like managing my contacts and things like that. So that's the stuff that I would hire out for first. Don't hire out the stuff that you're good at or that you like doing. I mean, if you like doing it, but you're terrible at it, maybe. But in general, you want to hire out the stuff that you are not good at so that you're going to get help. Don't hire out the things that is what's called your core competency, like your writing, obviously. So we're going to have time for questions. And I also want to let you know, I basically wanted to make my coaching a little bit more accessible to people. So I'm doing a half price group coaching course. It's starting the 26th. We're going to meet on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And it's a 12-week program of personal coaching, what I do is I give you more than a dozen templates and checklists to kind of help you get set up. And like I said, it is half price. So that makes me happy because I want everyone to be able to participate. So does anyone have questions at this point? And I want to make sure that people can unmute themselves. And so, yeah, let me know. Any questions? I'm unmuting, or you can type them in the chat.
Okay. Yeah.
Right, here's someone. Do you have a question?
Okay.
Anyone? I'm trying to chat. I'm scared that people are trying to chat and I'm not seeing it. Hi, Francis. Okay. Go, Francis. Okay. Okay, so Francis, do you have a question first?
Hello?
Okay. So Lauren asked, how much is the course at half price? It's $13.37 at half price. It's usually $26.75. And I also do a 6-week shift to writer course. That's more for beginners who are trying to take writing seriously. And so that one is only 6 weeks. And so that one's $8.37. At half price, it's usually $16.75. And for each one, we'll meet for an hour a week. And I'll also be reading your coursework and giving you written feedback every week. So they're pretty different. The first one goes through all the assignments in my book, Welcome to the Writer's Life. And we talk about each segment of your writing life, like setting up your reading habit, your writing habit, and your craft study. So it's really more the artistic side. And with the full-time to freedom to write, you are setting up and launching your freelance writing business. So every day you receive an email with a lesson, and then you have a question or one assignment, right? So it's like, today's the day you apply for your business license. Today's the day you get your other bank account, things like that. So yeah, and I do a free 15-minute consultation for anyone who has more questions, so we can talk about which one would be right for you too. And I'll send you guys that email right after we're done here. So Francis said, I did some freelancing a few years ago, but all my clips are old. What's a good way to pitch editors when you don't have super recent writing clips or writing samples? So I too feel like my clips start to get old, and you might just kind of discuss what you've been doing in the meantime. So for me, I was doing a lot of freelance writing. In 2016, I got a lot of clips, and then I did my book, right? So I didn't do a ton of freelance writing during 2018. And so I'm kind of in the same boat, Francis, where I'm like getting back in there and I'm like, here's my latest thing, or, you know, so just kind of talk about what else you've been doing. But I think in general, the most important thing is going to be the quality of your pitch and how much value they see that you're bringing to them. And then also in your cover letter where you list where you've been published before, you're not going to see those dates. Like, I am totally just like, if I never get published in the New York Times again, I don't care if it's the year 2050, I will be like, published in the New York Times, like shameless style for sure. So just focus on bringing value to the editor, and I think that they will, you know, they'll be down with it. If it feels like it's embarrassing, you can be like, here's what I've been doing lately, if you have another big project. So Bethany asked, how do you keep yourself out there on the market when you already have a full client list? Good question. Yeah, I just actually said, okay, I am going to dedicate one day a week to doing my reach work, like reaching toward the person I want to be in 10, 20 years of like Roxane Gay style, $3 a word, writing for the biggest publications in the country. And so I was like, I'm going to do it on Tuesday. And my friend Ryan was like, it's Dreams Come Tuesdays. And I was like, wow, yes, okay. So it can be really hard to prioritize the work that's going to get you the work that will bring you the most value, kind of like to your soul, to your deepest part of yourself, right? Which also isn't sometimes the value that, or the assignments that's going to bring a bunch of value to your bank account. So I would definitely say, carve out some time where you're like, I'm guarding this for reaching out to bigger editors, for writing clips or writing pitches to magazines I really want to be in. this is not for my client work, and try to make sure that you have enough client work to keep your bills paid, but not so much that you are stopping yourself from going after your biggest dreams. And for me, I was very tempted to like panic about that and be like, I don't even feel like a writer anymore. All I'm doing is like writing business blogs and stuff like that. And I realized like, okay, just calm down, like stop and just adjust your sails. So I think that's the biggest thing about the executive meeting is asking like, am I, am I going after the career I really want, or am I being sucked into doing this? So yeah, Lauren asked about payment plans, and I'm totally happy to do that. So our time is pretty much up, and I think I have to log off here. But please, I'm happy to make it work with payment plans, anything you guys need, because everyone knows, I know how that road goes. So thank you so much for being here. Let's do a 15-minute chat, and I will talk to you guys soon. I really appreciate you coming out. Have a great day.